Another day in Macanu, the usual card game. Myself, Waffle, Cyan, and Nikoski. We'd been talking about our past. After a while, Cyan had asked me what my story was. Trusting these guys as much as I'd trust anybody, I let them into a little bit of my past. A story I had scarcely told until this day, of my youth, questing for a fabled place known as Thunder Castle. Thunder Castle, it was said, was a magical castle hidden in an enchanted wood. The castle itself was guarded by angry dragons, 3 in total, who hoarded untold treasures over the years. One day, as legend goes, a brave knight looking for nothing more than a dry place to rest in a stormy season had encountered the forest, the castle, and the dragons, with the help of some magical birds overhead who would drop magic items from the dragon's hoard to aid him in his quest, vanquished the 3, claimed the castle for himself, and started an order of knights dedicated to finding the world's lost treasures. Such stories were few and far between in scattered texts, but I had gathered them as a youth, sought the glories from within, to make a name for myself as a legendary knight. Eventually, I found myself in the very wood that Thunder Castle was rumored to be in, far less magical looking than you would expect an enchanted forest to be, and almost devoid of life. This I had chalked up in my arrogance to just the passage of time. I found an apple, and ate it. The skies were clear when I got here, but quickly I saw clouds forming. Didn't take long until a fog started rolling in, so that only a few feet of visibility was around me at all times. Eventually, I found some strange monsters, things that didn't even look like they belonged in the same time period as myself. The strange things had me bewildered, but I had trust in myself and my sword. Eventually, I vanquished them and was rewarded with some riches. Treasures I had not expected, especially not in the middle of a wood. Powerful vials of resurrecting fluid, some spell scrolls, even an elixir to restore one's spirit. Moving on, and I found a pool of crystal clear water. I examined it, poking my sword in, and was greeted by a strange spirit in the guise of a droplet. It had asked me about axes, so I honestly told him I had only checked with my sword. It confided in me that he had not seen a weapon the strength of mine before, and rewarded me with a pair of axes, 1 silver and 1 gold. I thanked the strange being and went back on my way, taking this as proof that I had in fact found the enchanted wood. All that was left was to uncover the castle. Strangely, I saw no towers, no spires, nothing of any majesty in the area. I would continue searching, now in the other direction, grabbing another apple before stumbling upon an entrance, but not to a castle, rather to a cave. Still, I've come too far not to explore it, and in I went. Truly, this was no castle, but was far from an ordinary cave. Elaborate paintings decorated the walls. I steeled myself for a fight, and walked through the entrance. Sure enough, on the other side, more of these strange creatures, floating sorcerers and beings that seemed not entirely of this time whatsoever, greeted me with a fierce assault. I withstood their attack and rebutted in kind. Felling them quickly, I found yet more treasure scattered on the ground. If this wasn't the castle, I was certainly looking in the right direction, I felt. Finding a bracer made of pure jet. Moving forward, I encountered a horror the likes of which you would only see in nightmares. A large skeletal demon. Its head seemed as big as my body. Though I would hit it repeatedly, it would merely laugh and taunt me, not even trying to attack again. Eventually, when I thought I had hit a final blow, it feigned pain and just simply disappeared from before my eyes, leaving only a chest in its place. The chest yielded another mage's soul. Onward I went, completely baffled by that encounter, to find more strange sorcery ahead. This time not taking any chances, I swung all out in a full offensive, felling the sorcerer, and then the time visitor. Quickly, these successive attacks left me rather depleted of spirit. With my energy somewhat waning, I took a moment to survey the area. Purple roots just jutting from the walls, sometimes looking more of veins than tree roots themselves, and glowing green paint. Truly not natural colors for a cavern. The next room had a tandem of these strange creatures with their long, clawed hands and strange armor. I decided it best to dump all of my energy into trying to fell them with magical strikes, damaging both at the same time. It was a hidden technique passed down to me from masters of my order, and I felt this was the battle most needed for it. I judged correct, too, as their spells and constant swiping attacks had taken me down to critical range, and I needed desperately some time to heal after the battle. Fortunately, I heard little more stirring on this level. Had time to recompose myself and dress my wounds before pressing onward. I knew if this had been the castle, there must be more to it than that. So after some searching, I found some stairs down to a lower level, and took them swiftly. Now determined to find an end. One way or the other, if this was the castle or if this was some other strange place, I must find my answer. Coming out of a nearly endless corridor, I found myself in a room where the air stood so still. I broke jars just to make sure I wasn't in some sort of illusion. Danger in the next room as I come across yet another strange creature, the likes of which I had never seen before. Almost seemed to be more of machine than beast when I encountered it. Strange colors glowing off of it. I just kept attacking and attacking until eventually the great beast fell. This time no treasure rewarded me, only more still silence. Following room was inhabited by sorcerers who had heard me from before. Though I was able to take one out, the other two had scattered and threw their best spells at me. Trees rose up from the very ground beneath me to attack. My confusion over the whole ordeal, I found myself blindly swinging at anything that moved. When I finally came to, I was the only thing left in the room, as though I had imagined even the sorcerers. Still I pressed onward. This time I found 3 more sorcerers that felt very, very real to me, and not wanting to chance more strange confusion befalling me, I took them out before they had a chance to bend their sorcery on me. Once again, taking a moment to recompose, I find a box on an altar. Inside is an ancient scroll. Nothing of use to myself, but perhaps it could be sold in town for a few gold pieces, to stock up for a future adventure. Here I find a room that looks almost like an abandoned hall. An ornate chest has a very old scroll in it. I spy a body in the corner, long since dead. Perhaps one of the knights of Thunder Castle? Perhaps a poor soul questing like me. Either way, it had befallen a rather grim fate, one I had chose not to encounter myself. What I would see next is another one of those glowing horrors. This time I noticed its hands, more like blades, twice my size. Razor sharp. One hit me, and it was an impact I could scarce forget. Deftly striking as quickly as possible, I felled the brute. Was rewarded with some treasure on it. Armor made of pure ebony. One room yet persisted in this direction. I took it, was greeted with the visage of that skeletal demon again. This time the room was cold and the strikes were solid. This was the real deal. It meant business, as did I, and I attacked with a fury I had not felt in years. Eventually I emerged victorious. Not sure if I had defeated the demon for good, or if it was yet another encounter that it had chosen to pass away from. I decided not to dwell in that room, to merely look for my answer, and get out while the getting was good. I knew the sun would be setting soon. I no longer had time to make a run through the entire cave, but rather was satisfied to find a safe place, use an ocarina to get back to the field. A strange room sat before me with a statue, and it was a priest's stole and a couple of trinkets. I may not have found my castle, but I had certainly found the adventure of a lifetime. I never did find Thunder Castle. Truth be told, I never looked very hard for it again. The adventure of that day has stayed with me the rest of mine, and it's a story I was happy to share with my friends over a game of cards this day. Hopefully, one of them has heard it, and will take up my cause, questing once again for the fabled Thunder Castle.